This episode of Encounters is brought to you by Dueling Grounds, Toronto's #1 gaming store, and Wizards of the Coast. Find out where you can play Encounters near you at dndinsider.com. Hey, I'm Chenier. So this Wednesday was the start of the new season of Encounters, the Dark Legacy of Evard. Once we all sat down, we were introduced to our Dungeon Master, Derek Myers of DungeonsMaster.com.
We're going to assume that all the characters know each other.
From there, we introduced ourselves and our characters. There's Roman, who played Dandra the Vampire, Craig, who played Valrith the Vampire, there were 2 vampires this week, Margaret, who played Bashir the Blackguard, Rhaenys, who played Jaren the Wizard, Sean, who played Lex, an Eladrin Warlock, Barry, who also played Jaren the Wizard. Maybe they're brothers, and one of them is evil. And Ashley, who played a half-elf druid. I played a tiefling cleric named Delora, so she had a pretty thick, unintelligible accent.
Tiefling cleric extraordinaire.
It was pretty bad. So our DM sat us down and introduced us to the small, quiet town of DuPont.
It's raining quite heavily, so you decided to spend the night here. Your travels actually are taking you east of here.
We sort of got the impression that DuPont was a sleepy little town, middle of nowhere, kind of mist-covered. We decided to make our way to the Old Owl Inn. There we decided to, drink, sit by the fire, and generally relax. Things were going pretty well until we found out that our druid had an animal companion, and that animal companion was a giant bear.
A bear with you at all times? Is it a companion bear or is it a
It's up to you where it goes. It's not summoned, it's a real thing.
For the record, giant bears are awesome.
so it's a real bear.
Yeah.
So the bear would have to wait outside.
Conversation began to turn to a person named Evard. We all rolled dice to see if we knew who Evard was.
That's the one. Just roll it out.
19. And so who's this Evard you spoke of? Why might he be amongst the ghosts that are rumored to be out tonight?
Turns out that Evard the Black was a very famous wizard a long time ago. He was the enemy of another powerful wizard, Mordenkainen, and he's buried in the cemetery somewhere around town. We tried to get more information out of the NPCs about Evard the Black. That didn't go especially well.
You can tell he's sort of not all there. Of course, the drink's really nice, but you start talking to him, after about 10 seconds, you're like,
Why did we have to stop in this podunk little town? All of us decided to try and get some sleep, but then something weird started to happen.
It feels like you're being wrenched in multiple directions without the ability to orient yourself. Nothing in the room is missing, but furnishings are subtly out of place. The air is cold, and the walls have gone slightly askew. Candles and lamps are strangely dim, and shadows press in from all sides. Yet the inn and its surroundings have passed into the Shadowfell, a phenomenon known as Shadowfall.
For those of you who don't know, the Shadowfell is a place of the undead, shadows, darkness, nightmares, Tim Burton has a summer home there. We were then alerted to trouble downstairs. We ran down and found that the barkeep and a bunch of other people were being attacked.
This blue square actually represents the barkeep. He's on the ground. So an little barkeep, Harold, is motionless on the floor at the foot of the stairs. No one else is here, but small winged creatures flutter around the room. You realize that they are the carved gargoyles that adorn the inn's doorway.
Gargoyles! They came to life! Because we're awesome heroes. We sprung into action.
Vampire Slam, it's melee attack. So I rolled a... So I got 9 plus 6.
So I kick the chair out of the way, and I...
There's 3 guys.
Okay, bring it in. Yes.
That will kill it.
Things were going pretty okay until shadows literally started coming out from the floor.
These are shadow creatures, so they can move right through the floors. And that's basically how they manage to get where they are, and they sort of wisp around the shadows and then...
These shadow creepers were bad news. They latched onto us, inhabited our shadows, and generally caused us a lot of distress and pain, doing a tremendous amount of damage. We fought and we battled throughout the night.
1 wizard down almost.
Don't worry, that will be avenged.
You risk it, because sometimes there might be an advantage to being in one spot.
I'm killing the bloody gargoyle.
Okay.
Though there were a number of close calls, ultimately, we were all victorious, and there was much rejoicing. All in all, first session of Encounters was a lot of fun. The consensus was generally that everyone wanted to come back next week to play the next session.
It was pretty awesome, actually. Cool. I wish I wasn't as late, but at least I got in on the game. That's what
You thinking of coming back next week?
hopefully,
Yeah, I think so.
It was good. It was pretty interesting because I played the last season as well. So there's a lot more people showing up tonight and a lot of different faces, and there was a lot of positive energy too. So it was a good time was had by all.
We had some first timers, we had some very experienced gamers, we had some really young gamers, we had a few older gamers, and everybody seemed to have a good time.
After defeating all of the monsters and shadows and other things, we were left in the gloom of the inn, wondering exactly what awaited us outside now that the Shadowfell had fallen upon the land. All of us still sort of had lingering questions. Who was Evard the Black? And would he come into play later on this adventure? It's looking like this season of Encounters is going to be pretty dark. But I mean, when it's called the Dark Legacy of Evard, you kind of have to expect that. But we're heroes. We can handle it.